This is Tracy Broussard with RoadDawg Online and Greg Herrington, drummer with Martina McBride. When did you start playing, man?
Well, I started when I was 8. I was like beating the pots and pans.
Of course, we all started that way, man.
And my mom said, "Okay, that's enough. We got to get you a drum kit." So
she was into it.
Yeah.
Usually, the parents like, nope.
Well, it got so loud. They said, "Well, maybe we get a drum kit. It won't be so loud." And you remember the ones with the paper heads?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I kept busting the heads.
Yeah.
So the funny story is my dad found, or I found the drum kit in the Sears catalog.
Mm-hmm.
After about 2 years, so I had a Bozo the Clown set, which I don't know if anybody knows who Bozo the Clown is. And then there was some other, Kmart kit, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then I flipped open the Sears catalog, and there was a blue sparkle drum kit, and it had my initials on the kick drum head.
So it was destiny.
It was destiny. I said, "That's my kit." And then I get it home, my initials are GH for Greg Herrington. And I get it home, and it's got like JK on it.
Oh, no.
And I was like, what?
What happened?
What happened? Yeah, that was supposed to be my drum kit. But I played it anyway, and then I bought like mailbox letters and stuck them over there, you know. And then later on, I was like, well, I don't want anybody to know this is a Sears drum kit.
Mm-hmm.
So I would go to the drum shop and get like Pearl or Yamaha stickers, and like stick them on the drum kit so it said Pearl.
Yeah. I think we all try to cover that up, man.
Steve Jordan was a big influence of mine. So, and there's a guitar player, Roscoe Meek, who we were in a band together, and we played all this jazz music. And at the time, I was just playing cover bands, top 40 stuff, and would listen to all these different drummers to try to learn different feels. And before that, I was playing in church with that Blue Sparkle kit, the Sears kit. So it was really just learning how to play when people, like in church, they would walk up and just start playing, and you got to jump in and play. So you kind of learn how to play drums.
Oh, yeah.
And people speed up, slow down. And playing top 40. And then when the jazz thing caught my attention, I just dove into that, try to find the hardest grooves and try to not perfect them, but learn how to play them. Well, it was the Eyewitness record with Steve Jordan. It was Steve Jordan on drums and Anthony Jackson on bass. And it was like a 6/8 groove, but it was so spacey. You could hear like all the ghost notes, and he had that snare tuned up really high, right? And he had a couple cool little solos in there. But it was so hard to play, and I'd get so frustrated. I bet I played it for 2 years.
Yeah.
And in the course of doing that, I kind of developed my own style. Started out contemporary Christian from the church, and then the bass player, they had in the city in Shreveport, Louisiana, because you're Louisiana boy, right?
Yes.
They had what they called the gospel hayride, which was the equivalent to the Louisiana hayride.
Yeah. So
once a month, well actually every Saturday night, but once a month they would have like the Gaithers or somebody, a Southern gospel group would come in and sing. But the other 3 Saturday nights they'd have a house band, and it was the same thing like church. Somebody would come up, 10, 12 different artists and just start playing like the Opry, right? And you just follow them.
And that taught you to listen.
Taught me to listen.
Yeah.
And there was no click tracks back then. It was just, you just held on and you did it. The bass player said, "I want you to fill in at the gospel hayride for our drummer who's sick." And when I filled in the next day, they fired the house drummer and hired me. So that's...
How old were you then?
13.
So you're 13 and you're doing this.
13.
Man, that's huge.
And to be honest with you, I could bore you with all the details, but that's... Being 13, house drummer, that's how I met the guys that we formed a friendship, and we put together a more contemporary Christian band out of that house band, and eventually that's what got me to to Nashville. They tried to market us, and we did a couple of records, and eventually the second record was in '87.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, I gotta get closer to the record company because they wanted us to do interviews and all this stuff. And so I moved up, and that lasted about a month, and I was like, I just want to play drums.
Yeah.
I don't want to do interviews, and
Yeah, because you're an artist at that point.
I don't want to be an artist.
Yeah.
It was actually the producer that discovered our band. His name was Billy Smiley, and he was producing a lot of Christian records. And he kind of handpicked me out of the band and said, hey, can you play on this project?
Ah, so you got in the session role there.
Can you play on this project? And after and this was between, we did 2 records, and this was happening between our 2 records, about a 2-year span. I would play on these little records. And so by the second record, I was like, you know, it's a lot less stress just to get a phone call, go play a session, make my money, and go home.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have to do an interview or anything, you know, so that's what started it. I didn't know what I was doing. I was really green.
Mm-hmm.
I did play with a click track, but I had to learn, and I had to experiment with different gear. And thankfully, I worked with people that had a lot of patience while I was learning how to be more professional.
Mm-hmm.
When I listen to the stuff now, I'm like, some of it I go, man, that was really cool because I was taking a lot of risk because I wasn't concerned about failing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It was all new, kind of?
It was all new. I made a mistake, I'll do it over. And a few years later, it was like, I'm the drummer, I can't make a mistake. One take. I'm getting it in one take.
Yeah.
So it didn't take as many chances. Back then, there were a lot of solo artists in Christian music, and I eventually developed a relationship with 5 or 6 producers. So when a solo artist would come in, they would just do like they do now, just put a band together.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a combination. But as far as musically, it was pop. You know, there was no country to it at all, and only did an occasional Southern gospel record, which was obviously country based.
Mm-hmm.
But most of it was alternative rock and pop, and so you had to kind of listen to different music to be familiar with it. So you got in the studio, you kind of, if they gave you a musical reference, like, I want it to sound like this.
Oh, yeah.
You kind of had to know what they were going at. I did a session on, it was Sparrow Records, which is, I don't know if they're there anymore, but there was a group, it was 2 sisters and a brother. They were called Chasing Furies, and they were from Colorado. And musically, it was just incredible. It was real spacey, Radiohead meets Patty Griffin, or it was just, it was really weird. Great harmonies and the coolest music, man. And we got in that session, and we had a pretty good budget, so we would just do like 2 songs a day, and we would experiment. I would try different grooves, and it was one of those sessions where, like, if the song fades, you just want to keep playing it.
Have you ever played something and listened to it later? It's already been pressed, it's already been done. Think, man, I could have done that there.
Yeah. All the time. Yeah. Because the producer goes, that's perfect, and I was like, man, I want to do it again.
Yeah.
And he said, no, it's perfect. Like, I'm like, man, that snare is just a little too far back or something. I want to do it over.
Mm-hmm.
And then other times it's just a budget thing where you've done it 2 or 3 times, and the producer goes, it's great, and you want to do it again, but you're kind of like, okay, whatever, you know.
Have you ever done a track and you're like, okay, I know that wasn't good, I'm just done?
Oh, yeah. 1988, I met a guy named Jeff Moore who had a band called Jeff Moore and the Distance.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a big upgrade for me because he was playing like legitimate shows in the Christian music, and it was kind of a John Mellencamp kind of roots rock kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I met a lot of people. I was in this band for like 6 years. So that took me all the way to 94, and then 94 I had a little burst there where I was doing 2 records a day, and then I would go out on weekends, and I was playing with a little bit with DC Talk and Audio Adrenaline and Out of the Gray, and this girl named Susan Ashton who had a country deal. She was a great singer, and it was over that 2-year period where I met a lot of musicians, and one of them was Mark Oakley. Do you know Mark?
Yeah.
Mark is, I think he's playing with Gretchen Wilson.
Yeah.
Well, we had done a tour where I was playing for the main act, which was Susan, and he was playing with the opening act, and we got to know each other because we hung out all the time, and he got the call to do the Martina gig, and back in '96, and he called me up. He goes, man, they're getting ready to fire the bass player and the drummer, and called me. I said, man, I don't know who Martina is. I listen to country music, and I'll audition. So I ended up getting it, and that was '96. You know, it's the crowd makes it interesting, and Martina wants it to be each song, not so much now, but in the beginning she wanted to be just like the record. Now we have a lot more freedom.
Okay.
But we still, the main, you know, the drum, the signature licks, drum fills, and the grooves should be like the record.
Right.
We have a little freedom, so it's really just the challenge of, can you make a groove better than you did the night before? And a few songs that you have a little more freedom, maybe like a cover song or something. Trying new stuff, keeps it fresh. And then some songs are just, it is what it is, and it takes a lot of restraint not to just go off. Because I've got that look before. And so actually I'll sneak it in, I'll do a sort of like two hits on the snare drum. I started on Wrong Baby Wrong, I do like 2 hits to match her vocal on the 3rd verse. Because I thought it was cool. And the first night she turned around and gave me a look. And so I was like, well, with a dirty look.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do it again. And the next night she smiled. And then and the 3rd night she goes, keep doing that. I'm like, okay, cool. And it happened a couple of times where I'd do it a couple of times, and then one night I didn't do it, and then she found me after the show. She goes, how come you're not doing that lick anymore? You know, I'm like, okay, cool. But I've gotten the dirty lick a couple of times.
Yeah.
So, the whole discipline thing, I got bored. I was like, come on, I've played this song for 10 years, I've never screwed it up. Let me try something, for crying out loud, you know? I want to try something, you know? It wasn't that bad, it was probably a triplet thing or something. And with a cymbal in the wrong place. Having the, like, I've had it where I've had to fight it so hard playing a song, and I had this idea in my head I wanted to do, and I had to just not stop playing, but mentally just stop and go, no, you can't do that, and just keep playing the song, you know. But nobody ever knew that.
Right.
But to me, the biggest, it all boils down to Martina being on stage, and she's in front of me and she's singing. So my only focus is I want her to know at the end of the day, and year after year after year, that she never has to worry about the tempo. It's always going to feel good, and she never has to worry, you know, about anything. You know, I know kind of how this song flows and when to start the next song, and it's going to feel okay. And then if she's moving and she's dancing around, I'm like, okay, I'm doing my job.
This is Tracy Broussard and Greg Herrington with RoadDawgOnline.com, and we're done.